Hi, everyone, and welcome to Women Leading Startups Fireside Chat. This is our first one for the semester. I'm Inaya Abdelgaber, a political science student at Memorial University, one of the universities participating in the semester's Fireside Chat and Network Workshop series. I'm happy to be your guest student host today, and for today's Fireside Chat, I'm glad to see you all here with us. We are hosting 3 Fireside Chats this semester, including today's, and these are titled Women Leading Startups. Each Fireside Chat will feature a different female identifying startup founder from Canada each month, and this event is open to all female identifying students who want to be part of a supportive virtual community for entrepreneurial women. The link for the other Fireside Chats will be in the chat section right to your right side. We're also hosting 4 upcoming net workshops this semester, and these are designed to be an introduction to startup creation. You'll learn about tools and resources by our speakers, and then you'll also be able to build a network of like-minded entrepreneurs and people from across Atlantic Canada. Our next net workshop is Uncover the Right Idea, and it is on October 1st, which is this Thursday. It's at 12:30 Newfoundland time. The Net Workshop series is a partnership between 7 universities in Atlantic Canada, and these are St. Mary's University, University of Prince Edward Island, Memorial University of Newfoundland, Dalhousie University, University of New Brunswick, Cape Breton University, and Mount St. Vincent University. So that is enough about what is coming up this semester. Now it is time to kick off our chat today. For today's chat, we have partnered with Canadian Ecosystem Gathering. It's a community that aims to nurture collaboration between Canadian innovation ecosystems. I would like to welcome to stage Emilia Reyes, a facilitator and coordinator of Canadian Ecosystem Gathering, to speak a little bit about CEG and what they do, as well as moderate today's chat. Welcome, Emily.
Hi, Inaya.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How's it going?
Good. I'm gonna leave the stage and let you take ahead of the chat today.
Yeah, thank you, Inaya. Thank you for having us. Hi, my name is Emilia Reyes, as Inaya mentioned, and I'd like to thank you all to join us today. I'd like to thank you for the universities of the Atlantic to have joined their forces in this collaborative initiative, and I'm proud to be here with you today. I work for the Canadian Ecosystem Gathering. We call it CEG, and we're working also to provide, ecosystem stakeholders and leaders a space for collaborative work session to facilitate the rise of structuring project in order to for communities to economic development to increase and grow. So today we're having a guest from Montreal. Her name is Isabel Lopez. She's a founder and CEO of Microsmart Journey. So she should join us pretty soon. Yes, hi Isabel.
Hi.
So we're here. How's it going?
I'm fine, thank you. What about you?
I'm great, thanks. Thank you. Well, I like the fact that you first suggested that we begin the session by exploring the audience's interest and curiosity about your journey, but also about their state in entrepreneuriat and their dreams and challenges for upcoming. So I'd like you guys, welcome. I can't see you, but all the participants, I'd like to welcome you to participate with us and share your questions. It could be what you guys want to talk about today. I think it'd be interesting for you to share that with us. I'd like you guys to let us know if you have any specific question you want to ask. It could be even one word. You could also share with us any major concern for which you'd like to have an advice, or if you want to share a challenge or elements or even events that you're apprehending upon your journey. We're really, really enthusiastic about hearing from you guys. So please place your question in the chat section so we can actually share them with Isabel and start the discussion. Okay. So Isabel, as I mentioned, you're the founder and the CEO of Microsmart Journey. Thank you. I'm multitasking, but you're better than I am in that. I want to say that, well, we have question coming in first. So just as an undergraduate, as what you mentioned, to be one of your first entrepreneurial initiative, you customized your degree to suit your many interests, the many interests you had.
Right.
You fast made it happen to work on the field, to be involved with real action, to make your internship happen with like a specific company you targeted. And when you were offered a solid position, at one point you decided to leave the firm and start your own business. So that soon became a collaborative studio and a great projects and ambition. I'm sorry. I'd like to hear you in the first place to because I'm having question coming in, but I think we'll let them come through and then we'll get back at it. Sorry. So I'd like to know, what would you say about your leadership for leadership overall?
Okay. Well, so first I ask questions because I've been a student, and every time we had an entrepreneur, they would never talk about the parts I wanted to hear about. So, and then there was then there's the question time, and then you get maybe chosen, and then they don't have the time. So I love to do that, to start by asking questions or just knowing what is in the top of your mind, the most important subject you want to to approach, whether it's confidence, time management, first steps, whatever. Okay, so because usually tips, they do work in any context. It's not, we feel very peculiar as an entrepreneur. We're very different and special, but actually, tips do work for everyone. So that's the first point. Second, yes, I was very, very interested to become, I had this knack of what I would do in my life, but I didn't know how it was called. And actually, it's been like 10 years later in my career that actually someone did put a name on what I was really doing, which was kind of UX strategy, which is not UX. It's a specific field, which is UX strategy, but it took a very, very long time. And I remember the day that someone did summarize that, and there was a word that everywhere in the world, everyone knew what it was, which was about 5 years ago. I started crying.
Oh, yeah.
I was in an event and this girl started explaining that, and there was a book about it, and it was all my skills. And, so sometimes we have a knack of the future of what you're going to do, but it doesn't have a word, and it's all fine. But when it does not have a word, then it doesn't have anyone who says, oh, do that career path or to go into that program, it's going to work for you. So I needed to do like 5 programs to really go pick up all I wanted to learn. And because I'm kinesthetic, I need classes, I need people, I need to interact. I use a lot of mentors. I use them a lot because I learn just by feeling the other person, feeling the knowledge. So
I have a question in that sense, maybe.
Yeah.
I have someone asking, what were the most important things that you learned in life or school that have assisted you in your field?
Actually, everything was very because I did build my there was a way to actually build your baccalaureate. This is how it's called in Quebec.
Undergraduate degree, yeah.
Undergraduate degree. So there was a way to do that with many, many, many signatures, many, like 50 or 60 of specific people that were really hard to reach. I remember standing in the hallways waiting for them at their office to make sure to get them. And then it became very useful. And one thing I did learn was that actually there's the knowledge and there's the way you integrate it by yourself, and the way you appropriate it yourself and make something else from it. I'm a doer. I do like to do different things. So one of the fields that I did study a lot in was marketing. And in marketing, there are many, many, many pathways. You learn publicity, you learn, like communications are part of the marketing. You also have, for example, pricing strategies, et cetera, et cetera. And one thing that really, really interested me was the psychology of the consumers. But the way it was taught, it was for publicity. And actually, I had a knack. I would use it for social medias, but they didn't exist yet. Okay, you have to know that they didn't exist, the social medias, when I started school, and because I'm 37, so they didn't exist. But I did know about it because I was on the MRC. I was always the techie girl. I was a bit of a nerd, so I knew that somehow there were other ways to do that. So the psychology wasn't used to be for publicity, but I knew that it would be used for functionalities are way to say things to communities that the community would take it and actually recuperate it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started talking about that with my teacher, which was actually very good in the field, but she had no idea what I was talking about. And I felt so lonely. And I was like, and then I talked to my fellow student, colleagues, student colleagues, and they had no idea what I was talking about. And actually, I just got used to that. Most of the time when I'm talking about those things, no one understands what I'm talking about. But actually, it all happened.
It's like a lack of an absence of acknowledgement because it didn't exist, and that's really interesting that you'd bring this up, because this is what is happening sometimes in entrepreneurial path in relation to innovation. You have to find this power within yourself towards the absence of truths, of conviction, and acknowledgement from your surrounding. It's a super interesting point that you're bringing up.
Because you're going to say, I'm going to do this in my life. I'm going to create that product. And they say, that already exists. No, but I will do it that way. That doesn't make a difference. I'm like, yes, it does. But then take care, because sometimes you could just go and blurb in your head. Not everyone is like you. So there are methods, there are techniques you can use to actually validate what you have in your head.
Mm-hmm.
But what you have in your head is fairly valid as long as you take time to actually always use knowledge, always take time to, to test it, But so just feel your core. Your core has something to do. You're on the planet for doing something, so find it.
Yeah, well, you're bringing the notion of testing. So I'm thinking about failure. I'm thinking about risk. Lean startup, MVPs. They're all wordings that we've been hearing the last 10, 12 years. But it seems like it's like a new entrepreneurial method and word, but it's based upon the principles that have been proving. Like you mentioned to me one point, learning how to walk involves about 10,000 interventions between achieving it. And I think it's interesting that if you can bring us into your relationship to MVP, lean startup, and how that brings security in terms of testing and providing as you were mentioning, a vision in your head and validated. I think that'd be really interesting.
Absolutely. I will do that, and I will try to answer the questions I'm seeing at the same time.
Yeah.
We'll put it together.
Yeah.
You have to know that the MVP is for minimum viable product. It's a method. It's like in science, when you want to validate a hypothesis, you will try to break it into small variables, and you will try to just validate one variable, then the other one, then the other one. It's the same technique, okay? But you have to know that this technique works very, very often, except when you're in deep research, things that are really, really, really new. Steve Jobs could not use the MVP method at the beginning because no one could actually give him feedback about computers, personal home computers. They didn't exist at all. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to know that. So
yeah.
That's the point. That's the limit of the method. Okay. How does that work? It's about testing the interest of people and the probability of them buying, and actually just tweaking your product or service or whatever you've in between you have in mind. Okay, so one person is asking me, did I write a business plan? Actually, no, because you want to validate that it's worth your time of writing a business plan. Writing a business plan is a good way to get in your head. You have to get on the floor, you have to get in the real world and on the market. So I will tell you about what is my Smart Journey just very briefly. So my Smart Journey is this, which is my company for the ones who just came in now. So my company is called My Smart Journey, and it is the simplest way to deploy interactive experiences in the physical world. Okay, so in public spaces or on objects. So we do have a fairly good amount of clients. They use, for example, I have a few examples here. This is an example of a museum. So they have their audio guides and all their manipulables. They had to be replaced for non-touch, for example. So they did create fairly fast, and in 1 week we were on. So they did put those little signages, and it does have a QR code and NFC and a short link. So some of you can actually just scan it if you feel like it. But and then you'll get on a content that is actually a content from the permanent exhibition at the Sherbrooke Museum, which is in the south part of Quebec province. We have clients that will put them on the products, for example. So they will add that. And this is a way for them to give service before buying, after buying, keeping the relationship, etc., etc. Okay, so so we just visitors or clients just need their phone and they just scan it and there we go. But what makes it special is that we have this system that actually deploys that very, very easily. It's super easy to change the content, to use it. It is UX, because that was my strength. It is so easy. If you're able to write an email and just add an attached file, you qualify for our platform, which is a breaking point in the industry, because it's now it has a word for that. It's no code. Okay, so it's a no code platform, which means you don't even have to have a digital mind. So we have people that we have clients that actually don't even have a cell phone themselves, but their clients do, and they're able to use our platform within 10 minutes.
Wow.
10 minutes. So that was the special point. But before getting there, we did have to test to make sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
So now I'm coming to the point.
No, that's fine. I like my role is actually to guide towards certain question, but so if we can actually look into such an innovative approach that didn't exist at this point. Now, how did you manage? Well, earlier when you studied, it was fairly new. Let's put it this way. How did you manage to, the test and learn approach? How did you manage to do this? And how did you look at the business plan? Did you do a business plan for your company in the first place? Did it come further along the road? Why and why not? I think we'd be able to look into these questions and themes all together.
So in my career, I've done business plans for other people or for myself or whatever many, many times. Okay, so you have to know that the more you do, the more easy they get. And actually, the more you realize it's very good to write down things, because it does actually make you see flaws and make you see things that are not coherent, which is very important. But you can also get that from talking to someone who's good at that. You can get in 1 hour, they will pinpoint, it's going to hurt, but it's going to be good for you. So yes. So what I do, it's mostly it's a bullet point list. I'm sorry for teachers. I'm sorry. It's very good what you're teaching them, but you can be simpler at the beginning. You eventually have to do your business plan, because if not, you don't get funding. You don't get. There are many milestones on the road that require you to have a business plan and require you get you through. And yes, you have to do 80 pages. You do have to do them, but I do believe that you can have a few months before doing it for testing. This is what I believe in.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about that. So for me, what I told you about was, it's a system that actually allows to very easily deploy content on this, in the place. If I already gave you, your signage, there's no content on it. You go on the platform, you drag and drop it. 2 minutes later, you put your signage on the wall and it works. So that was what I wanted to test if some people were interested in that. But I didn't want to code the whole platform. I'm not a coder, by the way. It's my sister. My sister did code it, by the way. My sister is in the company. It's so fun. So what I did, and I did want to have those, I showed you those NFC chips, because at the beginning, that was my innovative idea was to use them, by the way. And now I came back to the QR code. I didn't want the QR code. I thought that was my innovation. And then that was not my innovation, which I learned along the way. But at first I had some, but actually it's worse than that. They didn't come in on time. So I had this networking event and they didn't come in on time. And I had, Club Med there so I really wanted. So what I did take a cardboard and I did a round like this. It's not a joke. I did that. And I say, imagine I give you a little thing like that. And you can put it wherever you want, where you want to make sense. For you, what they did after that, it's a big map of all the Club Meds, and you can build the experience there. It has a video behind it. So what you do, you put it, people scan it. It just has to touch. It's a very wonderful. All the phones have it. And then you know what happens? There's content.
So that's how you pitch to Club Med?
It's exactly the verbatim of my content. and with a glass of wine at the same time, and I had this phone and and I was trying to push it. Okay, this is how I did it. And she said, "Come to see me at my office. We are really interested. When will you have the first version of it?" Okay, so I was like, and I did sell within 2 weeks with that paper, but they all required me to have a test, a first test. So my little sister, she said, "I'm gonna do it," and like in 4 days, she actually did code it.
Wow.
A very basic test. It's very, very basic, and people could actually use it. They would scan it. They would get the content, and if they wanted, they could edit it, So of course, it's not there's no security, etc., because you need many layers later.
Yeah.
But actually, we had the feeling, and actually, they did buy it.
Wow.
So they did buy it, but they said make it secure. But I had 4 clients to rely on.
Wow.
So actually, then I built it, and I didn't look for more clients because I knew that 4 clients were enough for me to learn. I had a city, I had a museum,
City of Montreal.
No, it was a city. It's Lac Mégantic.
Oh, really?
They have a sculpture trail.
Yeah.
And also I had the lotteries of Quebec, Loto Quebec. Okay, and they all wanted to test things which were completely different. So I was like, oh, it's interesting because I thought it would be so useful for museums, but actually I just sold 1 museum. All the rest of the people are doing like exterior paths, So I was like, okay, let's learn from that.
Yeah, so that's exactly what you're pointing at. You thought you had a given market, and then different markets opened to you, and you were capable of adapting and opening up because there was this agility and potential. Like it was your business plan was not set in concrete.
I have no idea how much it was worth. I have no idea. When you do a business plan, you have to decide that, and then you just pitch that. So this is what I say to them. And it's really the truth. You can ask them. So I said, like, you know what? I have no idea. I have to learn, and you're gonna help me learn, and you're gonna tell me how much it was worth to you at the end of the summer. And I will learn from you. I'm going to make videos, but you're going to give me feedback, even harsh feedback. And you're going to take that amount of time with me. So it was within the contract. It's not like, oh, and then you give me feedback. No. There were hours. I want 1 hour every 3 weeks. They had to invest in me. And it was $1,000 for whatever they wanted. Okay. Now I wouldn't do it that way. It would be 1,000 for maximum that, because 70 hours later, it wasn't done with one of the clients. So okay. So
what you're highlighting is that there's always some kind of a volunteer or like collaborative free time that is involved in innovating, and like that's true for
and I'm using exactly 2 years and a half later, I'm using exactly that system actually to test the hospitality market. We're using one of the most prestigious and innovative hotels of Montreal, and we're starting it. It's going to go out. So I'm not going to take their name, but actually we're going to make a little business TV reality show of 3 minutes every 3 weeks, and we will actually test how it changed the way that it's in because they cannot use papers and stuff. In hotels it's hard, and we're going to test it. And actually we're doing in partnership. I'm not asking money. I'm asking their involvement. I'm asking their numbers. I'm asking the right to actually display their numbers.
Yeah, because it does have value. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But so I still use this method. 2 years and a half, and we do have we are 7. In 2 weeks we are 8 people, and I still use this method because it does work.
Yeah, I have someone asking, because you're bringing up like issues of COVID and how that brought to your offer different approach, and then a new collaboration partnership with this hotel that we don't know who they are, but there's someone asking if actually they would love to hear both us talking about the isolation issues that are very real to entrepreneurs' experience, and how we've dealt with the pandemic. Like my bridge was toward the pandemic, but it's true that without the pandemic, there's a given isolation issue that happens with this journey that involves a lot. But I guess it was also increased, and there was like new issues coming in with the pandemic. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? Our sector market is tourism, so you can imagine.
Yeah.
Like in March, like 100% of my clients just dropped. But we did actually renew, etc., etc. I'm not going to talk about that, but there are some videos on that on the internet. If you scroll our Facebook or LinkedIn, and we can answer those questions if you happen to have a company and need to think about how to pivot, how we call it.
Mm-hmm.
But isolation, we go through isolations. I have people in my team, they also go through isolation. This is something that this is a fairly good subject in the pandemic, that you don't need to be an entrepreneur to go through that new experience.
Yeah, that's true.
That is one point. But we do use a lot of video conferencing. We use a system that's called Whereby, which is a video conference, but that you can keep open all day long. So you can have different offices and you can actually just drop in the office of someone. So that makes it less awkward, like you don't have to take a meeting to see someone. And we do use a lot of Slack as a team to do that.
Yeah.
But for clients, it's very different because we were in an incubator and we would go to trade shows and we would used to just run into them casually and actually start talking about what we were. And they're like, oh, I didn't know you. You seem wonderful. Why don't you come tell me more about it? But now I don't get into those clients. So it's very hard actually to find them. So we did webinars, we do pitch contests, etc. So we use as much exposure as we can get. Somehow you're not my clients, but somehow things like this become exposure eventually a certain way. Okay. So we do a lot of inspiration. We try to feed the community a lot. Okay. This is what we do. About entrepreneurs themselves, I've talked about the fact that I was feeling still lonely with my ideas, even in college, and then university. Okay. There's a part of it you have to learn to love that. Okay, I'm sorry. Everyone says there are methods. Yeah, there are methods, but you have to learn to trust yourself and love yourself and like this weirdness about you. And actually, a good way to do that is to convert it into real projects. Okay, so I've done a fairly good amount of volunteering, but they were always volunteering that would help me refine a skill. So I asked for a carte blanche, and I would say I'm going to help you, but I don't want to have a multitude of meetings. If I wanted you to become my client, I would put you in my company, because my first company was actually a web studio with marketing consulting. I was no, if I do that, I just want to just do it. It's going to take me 200 hours. I will give them in the next year for you, but I just want to have fun. Of course, if it doesn't make sense, I'm going to listen to you. But if red or blue, I don't want to hear about that, And they accepted that, and I was always been super clear. My motivations, I want to help this cause. Of course, I want to do that, but it's because I deeply need to have a project that I do what I want, not what the client wants. So they knew that was my limit. Okay. So there are ways you can make it happen. Okay. And when you do things, when you're an entrepreneur, doing things and materializing your mind is actually the better way to get security, because people start to understand you. Because if I was just I'm doing a system and that would put content anywhere on the public place, you would be yeah, but what? And then when I show you that, then you're oh yeah, I understand how I could use it, So people need to see it and people need to feel it. That's why the MVP approach is so good, because you become so physical.
And also, from what I hear is that you do have a given background, educational, you went to school, you learned some stuff, but there's a learning curve between when you're out of school and where you want to go, especially with something that doesn't exist that you have in your mind. So in that sense, I find it really interesting to really highlight the importance of passion and being on your X, exactly where you need to be in relation to your interest, to your passion and everything, in order for that learning curve to be fun, rather than this never be able to overcome challenge, if I quote unquote. So I find that really interesting that you're highlighting this, because there's a lot of challenges along the road, and so you kind of take it as a game or something, a challenge to yourself, and to grow through it. How did you overcome the loneliness? Someone is asking.
Okay. It's a very good question. And if you're feeling like that, I'm so sorry. But it is treatable, feeling isolation is not the same as loneliness. Loneliness is deeper, and because you can be isolated but still be with yourself and having fun with your, like, yeah, I like what you're thinking. Oh yeah, cool. Okay, let's do this. You can do that. But when you feel really lonely, it's because there's a gap between you and you somehow. There are three things, and those were three things I wanted to talk about today. So I'm really happy I get the chance to do that. There are three things that really, really gives you strength, even if you don't feel lonely. But if you feel lonely, they really help. So the first thing is knowledge. Go and learn everything there is to learn about the subject you're interested in, what you really are. Just learn. Become like, do a doctorate on it, in your head. Don't write it, okay? But just like learn, get to the page 30 of Google, whatever, okay? You learn, and then you start looking for people who talk about that. And those people that do those articles that you find on Google, you can actually write to them and they actually answer. So you go deep, and you learn about it. Because if you really like a subject, that will really give you a lot of fun. And the more you know about it, the more confidence it gives you.
And no matter how someone seem unattainable or not accessible, if you share a passion, people will get back to you. They will write back. They'll be happy to be able to share. And if you don't have acknowledgement from the rest of the world, if you find one person that shares that passion, for sure you're going to build a relationship. So that
is the
network.
second point.
Yeah,
that's the network. That is the network. Actually, you have to build networks. You have to build networks of alike minds, and the internet does allow you to do that. If you really, really like, I don't know what, a Hello Kitty dressed as a gothic in a library, there's a fairly good chance that there are like thousands of people who actually really like that too. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to find those people. So when you do your research for knowledge, you're going to get onto interest groups and just go there. And if you write to people and they don't answer you, it doesn't matter. You did actually ask for it. And I have people who met me like 2 years later. They say, I had your email. It was interesting, but I didn't. This is what's happening in my life. I'm so sorry. But I remember you from that, and I saw, and then I started following you. Like 2 months later, I wanted to answer you, but I felt like it was too late. But I did start following you, and actually, I really like what you're doing, and I'd like you to take time with me. I have something to show you. So that happened. Okay, so the universe is a bit special. You do work a lot, to get one contract or to talk to one person. All this effort you do, and then a second person comes in, and it's free, and it seems free, and it's just like that. Someone pops out of nowhere. But actually, I do believe it's because I did all this work, and the universe just said, okay, yeah, you get it, because you got it. So somehow, all the efforts you put in, they go somewhere, but they don't go where you want necessarily, but they do come to you, and it's a more special way, and it's a more, I do believe in serendipity. Third thing would be, so the network. So you will have a mingle later if you want. We can talk about how we can do that, but networking is super important. And then discipline. The discipline to do those research, the discipline to be always aware, the discipline to actually take care of yourself, okay, as a person, of your body, of the people that you love the most that are your support system. You do have to have the discipline, because you can easily forget to do that for just 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and then slowly you get on a slippery slope. So discipline is one of the most important skills, and discipline was not my skill set. I've always been very focused and driven, and discipline was not one of them. But actually, because I was so focused and driven, I just connect to my goal, and I say, if I want this goal, I do actually have to do all of those things, which is for me, for example, meditation, visualization. There are many, 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 many things you can do.
And like there's a maturity process that you have to go through in order to figure out what is it you need, because nobody will know what you need. You have to go through these steps, and then you'll find yourself your toolkit kind of thing that makes you able to go across a challenge, to get up in the morning, to be passionate, share it, and be at the best you can be, and support that.
But you've been there, Amelie, like when you're lost and you have no idea how to do that, go back in time. When was the last time I was so focused on something? And even, even when you were a kid, actually those, they're like little handles you have within yourself, or buttons. When you push them, makes you happy, makes you feel good. So just go there, I don't care what you can do, I do puzzles. Puzzles make me so happy. I was a kid, it made me happy. I tried when I was an adult, it still makes me happy. So when I have to do like the equivalent of like a little business plan for one market or something like that, I do a puzzle. Makes me feel good. I do put 1,000 pieces there, and then I've put them all. So if I'm able to do the puzzle, I might be able to do that plan.
Yeah.
So, it makes me in a good vibe. I don't know why. So find what makes you laugh, what makes you feel awesome, like dancing. For example, I love dancing too. Every person is different.
Yeah, you're right. So it's this toolkit you need to identify for yourself, and it can be anything. It really can be anything, and that's the thing. There's no judgment upon this. This is like a recipe needed to be settled for yourself.
Amelie, if you allow me, there's one thing too we can do is find someone who's lonely, that doesn't share your interest, but does share your experience, which is the context you are, and just plain ask, let's take a coffee, and put words, on what you want. Don't say, oh, I'd like to take a coffee because I want to talk about your thesis, which is so interesting. Say the truth. You know what? I feel lonely. You seem to have we seem to have similarities. I'm looking to build my network. I need like business friends. I don't have a lot. I did say that at the beginning. And I say, by the way, your thesis is so interesting. So if you want, we can talk about that too. But be sure to make the priorities. If it's a meeting for being together, don't hide it behind a commercial reason, or the contrary. Don't start. If you want to say to someone, I'd like you to give me feedback to see if you want to buy it in your company. Don't start saying, hi, how are you? How are your kids? Let go of that. Be clear. You know what? I'm calling you because you work that. I think you can buy me, and I want your feedback, at least your feedback, and maybe your consideration for buying. People just love that. And don't require 1 hour. Ask them 15 minutes. They know you're going to take 25, but they don't care. They're going to give you the 15 minutes. Ask for very little clear things that are actionable to them, and they will do it. I want you to check it and give me your impulsive feedback. Oh, I can do that. That seems easy. Do you know how many things hard I have to do in a day? Come on in. I'm going to give you feedback, So make, be specific. You go to the restaurant, you don't say, I want to eat something. You say, I want to eat that plate. So when you talk to someone, you say, I want this dish from you. I want this specific thing from you. And people do love to give it to you. Actually, it makes them feel good, and it makes you feel good.
Let me. I have another question coming in. What should I do if my first job makes me feel less confident? In fact, sometimes too much thinking makes me nervous, and I end up doing the wrong thing, even though I know the answer.
Okay.
We know that feeling. We do.
We do. And I know it also as being a manager of interns that go through that. Two things, experience and casting. Let's start by casting. When you are not well casted, I have many jobs as a student, and sometimes the casting was not good. And actually they were putting on me something that was on them. They didn't put me at the right job. And then they were angry that I didn't have the right natural instinct for it. Okay. For me, you can sense me now. If you give me a job that is always the same repetitive thing that I have no possibility whatsoever to make it mine, that doesn't work.
No.
Of course. So it's bad casting is bad casting, So you have to think to verify if it's bad casting. If it's about confidence and experience, that is easy to treat. First thing, if you have maybe the way you are handled by the management is not the way you need to be handled. And sometimes the management cannot do it differently because it's the culture or this person cannot change, but sometimes they can change. So you have to sit down and say, you know what? I knew it, but I didn't do the right thing. There's a part of me that I can do this. But on your end, I would love if, and then maybe just don't yell at me at the first time. Just make a reminder instead of yelling, I would feel better, because when you yell, I feel stressed out, for example. So you can go and tell it.
Yeah, and I feel there's something interesting also to bring into, it's normal to feel less confident sometimes. It doesn't mean that you're not good. It means that it tells something about the situation. Maybe the ingredients are not good. So you're talking about the casting, and maybe the culture of the entreprise is not good. Maybe you're not even in the right sector. And I don't think there's a immediate solution, but it's part of the process to gather these feelings, to build exactly what is it about you, what that you need in order to feel more confident. And we're coming back up to the risk and the failure feeling. It's part of the process, and it's super normal. Indulgence toward yourself is really important as well, I believe, too.
I'm so happy you talk about that, because there was the last thing I wanted to bring out, and you're handling me. They are, well, two things. First thing, when you are not well cast, you're not good at a place, and you wonder, I have no idea where to go. We often make the mistake to go in something we love. Maybe the job you took was technically something you would love. I don't know, maybe you love skating and it's a skate shop and it has the best artists or whatever, and you're still unhappy. Don't follow what you love. Follow what you love doing. Follow what you love contributing to. Okay, follow what you love working on. Okay, that is a very different thing. There are many things I love. I would never work on that, like never. And if I started to do that, I would start not loving it. Okay, so that's the first point. That's this. The second thing is failure. Failure is a part of the process. I don't know why, but they don't teach us in school how fantastic, brilliant, and precious is failure. Failure is so useful, but failure hurts when you've put all your eggs in one basket. So when I was talking about the MVP, you start testing. You have to start testing. You say, "Oh, I have an idea," and you have to test it like 2 weeks. Because if they had told me this is shit, Isabel, I would be like, okay. Anyway, it was a 2-week idea. Who cares? If I had worked 2 years on that, I had a business plan and everything, I would be like, oh, they don't like me, because I would have started, like putting my identity within the project. Okay. So you have to be able to actually say, this is one idea. I'm going to test it super fast. I'm going to talk about it to people. If you feel ashamed to tell about your ideas, actually just take one part of it and tell this part. And if they don't like it, you say, yeah, they don't know the whole project. So it's fine,
Yeah, moving on. And I think that applies also to like a career project. So you, as a student, you start learning things and you testing things. If you're not confident, if you don't like it, then, take a step back, look at how you can feel different about it, because you got this. And you don't have to be perfect all the time either,
Yeah. Don't overachieve your milestones. Just throw yourself in them. And if it doesn't work, and then you decide, I will try again, or I'm going to change a bit the project. But just throw yourself at it, like what's going to happen? So what? You didn't fail. You actually learned. You actually achieved to know more. Who does that? Who has that knowledge, My version of my company is like 1,000 versions. It's the version 1,000. Can you believe that? I had to just let go the other 999 ones.
Yeah, that's true. It's an interesting way to put it. I believe we're coming to a place where we're going to start networking. And Aya, thank you for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed. We will meet if we're possibly, I guess I'll let you explain the process of the networking now. Yeah.
Yep. Well, first of all, thank you, Emilia and Isabel, so much. That chat was very interesting, and I was so glad to hear from both of you.
It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'm just going to give a quick crash course on Hopin networking. Basically, there's a networking tab to the left of your screen. You just go there, click on it, share your camera and audio, and you get matched randomly with someone else in the room for 3 minutes, and then it matches you with someone else. It's very fun and low effort way to meet people, and you don't normally get the chance to meet, because right now we can meet people from across the country. We don't care about time zones, right? So if you feel like the conversation isn't great, don't worry. Just 3 minutes and then you'll move on to the next person. Myself, Emily, and Isabel will be there, as well as many others. So don't log off yet. You heard Isabel talk about how important networking is. So come say hi in networking. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And I hope I get to see you again on October 1st in our Uncover the Right Idea workshop. And hopefully next month on October 20th for our second Fireside Chat of the semester.
Yeah, we'll be there with the Canadian Ecosystem Gathering. I'll be there with you guys, coming back with Gabrielle Larue. She's a CEO, founder of Lockego. She's from Montreal as well. So looking forward to introduce you to this great
Gabrielle is amazing. She is amazing. Don't miss out. She is a rocking entrepreneur. She does actually have a group.
Yeah, that's true. She's a rock band. So looking forward to see you guys on October 20th for the next Fireside Chat with the Canadian Ecosystem Gathering.
Yep. Thank you all, and we'll see you in networking right now.
Thank you.